I'm Barry Jansen. An incident Saturday night here at the Brandon Correctional Center resulted in 5 cells being trashed. We'll have that story coming up on Pulse News.
I'm Susan Tomofchuk. A woman has traveled from Phoenix, Arizona to share her inspirational story with women in Brandon. That story is coming up in Pulse News.
A perfect night on special teams lands the Wheat Kings another win. We'll have that story coming up for you later in Pulse Sports.
And good evening. A disturbance Saturday evening at the Brandon Correctional Center has resulted in 8 inmates being transferred to other correctional facilities in the province. As many as 10 inmates were involved in those incidents, which left 5 cells in ruins. Barry Jansen has more in this report.
It's believed the incident began when correctional staff told inmates not to put gang graffiti on the walls. After that, the inmates first refused to go back into their cells, then complied. That's when the trouble started.
The damage was done shortly after going to cell lockdown, so at that point in time the officers were patient, and basically after a period of time the inmates volunteered and surrendered peacefully.
The Brandon Police Service has a cooperative plan with the Correctional Center to provide backup assistance. In this case, however, none was required.
When they arrived, they were advised of what was going on in the institution, and they did not feel at that time it necessary for the police to become involved other than in an advisory capacity.
The damage was confined to 5 cells where the toilets were smashed and windows broken. As for who will pay, that's still unclear.
This is a case where we will be asking the courts to look at that question, and we will request that hopefully restitution be ordered, but that's something I have no idea how that will turn out.
The police investigation continues. It's also standard policy for the Correctional Center to review incidents like this as well. However, McVicker says that it's important to note that no inmates or correctional staff were injured and that safety procedures put in place for just such an incident were followed closely. In Brandon, Barry Jansen, Pulse News.
Wasagaming RCMP are reporting a rash of break-ins in Riding Mountain National Park. Sometime late Thursday evening or early Friday morning, vandals broke into or tried to break into 48 cabins at the end of the old campground. Most of the damage was broken windows and doors, and nothing of any value has been reported stolen. Constable Laura Cadu of the Wasagaming RCMP says a couple out for a morning walk noticed the damage and alerted the park warden. The cottages had been closed up for the winter, and police have contacted all but one of the owners. Cadu says police recovered some of the evidence at the scene, but so far no arrests have been made. As of October 13th, nearly 8,000 claims to ADA have been approved in Manitoba. The total amount of money paid is nearly $19 million. 7,000 claims have been received to that date, with 1,700 denied and nearly 4,000 still grinding through the bureaucracy. The average claim payment was $11,216. The Canadian Wheat Board is claiming another victory in the latest American scrutiny of its marketing programs. U.S. cattle producers had charged that the Wheat Board acts as a subsidy to Canadian ranchers by restricting feed barley prices artificially low. But board analyst Chari Tudka says the U.S. Commerce Department made numerous price comparisons and found no evidence of artificially low prices. Tudka says this is the 8th time the U.S. has scrutinized the board and in all cases found it to be a fair trader. Westman residents came out in droves on Saturday to do their part for our environment. The City of Brandon and volunteer workers spent almost the whole day at the City Works building on Richmond Avenue collecting hazardous household materials to make sure that they were all disposed of properly. Susan Tomofchuk was there and files this report.
Just 1 liter of used oil can pollute 1 million liters of clean water. That's one reason why you are encouraged to properly dispose of your household hazardous waste. Oils, paints, and cleaners shouldn't be going into landfills.
Well, a lot of stuff's poisonous, like for instance pesticides. You don't want to be just dumping that, and then if it's a solid and it's blowing around, inhalation, absorption. A lot of stuff is harmful to humans and animals, plant life.
Members of Brandon's 2 Rotary clubs have been helping with the Waste Collection Day event for the past 10 years, and they see firsthand how the event is growing.
It's basically, I guess you would say, disposed of in a manner that won't get back in, as I say, into the environment and won't create an issue for you and I tomorrow or our families.
With the continuing lineup of vehicles, workers expect to haul away 2 trailer loads of materials to St. Jean, Manitoba, where they will be sorted. Then the waste moves on to Winnipeg. Used oil products can be recycled and reprocessed for use again in petroleum products, steel, and plastic.
People are starting to understand that a lot of these items you can't just throw in the garbage and into landfills and down your drain. And people are becoming aware because of programs like this, which helps, and the government helps put them on through communities throughout rural Manitoba. And
I would bring in oil and old paint cans. We bought a house and some of it was left behind. And it's just better than putting it in the garbage.
If you didn't get a chance to bring in your own hazardous waste, you'll have to wait until spring for the next collection day. In Brandon, Susan Tomofachuk, Pulse News.
A prescription for healthy community organizations is a seminar focusing on taking care of volunteers and volunteer stresses. The event was to take place this weekend, but organizers were forced to pull the plug this morning because of low registration numbers. And as Susan Tomofachuk tells us, there are a number of reasons why this year the interest just wasn't there.
Now remember, the Southwest Farm Women's Network and the Southwest Regional 4-H Council were planning to hold a leadership seminar this Saturday, but they've canceled the event due to low registration numbers. So why the lack of interest for an event that traditionally does well?
The fact that there's still a fair bit of crop out there because of the late seeding time in the spring certainly is affecting the season and when things are happening. And harvest has been a long drawn out affair, and there's still crop out there, so people are still trying to take that off and are focusing on that yet.
And the infamous farm crisis may have something to do with only 12 people signing up when organizers were hoping for 60.
There's also a number of other events occurring that same day. There wasn't when we planned it many months ago, but those are parts of the obstacles that you have to go over. And the other thing is maybe there is some stress out there to the extent that volunteers are just needing to focus their energies on things closer to home.
Mona Cornick says fun events that focus on personal interests do quite well, like the Southwest Farm Women's Network Tour.
It's a day away, a chance to be with other people that are in the same situation as we are in, and have some fun doing it. And the registration fee is very reasonable, so people are attracted to that.
And Small Business Week is coming up.
With the farm economy being the way it is, I think that there's probably a number of people who are thinking of starting a new business, perhaps as a way of diversifying their farm income, just for a change, a number of reasons.
In Brandon, Susan Tomofachuk, Pulse News.
The final report of the Lower Tax Commission will be handed to Finance Minister Greg Selinger by the end of this year. At that time, says Selinger, it will be given a fair review. The commission was struck by the outgoing Film and Government. The public hearings on the commission have had plenty of support for recommending to lower taxes, particularly provincial income tax. Well, do you have any plans for the next millennium? The Westman Association of Volunteer Administrators and Brandon University Career Planning and Placement are encouraging Westman residents to become volunteers. Until 8 o'clock tonight, several organizations will be set up at the George T. Richardson Center at Brandon University. These organizations, like the Heart and Stroke Foundation, couldn't do it without volunteers.
We would come as a group and set up displays so that students can have a look at what exists in the community. Also to perhaps gain some volunteers out of doing this for projects that we have upcoming.
Brandon's Women Alive Regional Fall Conference has come and gone for this year. The event was held on Saturday at the Westman Centennial Auditorium. And this year's theme was A Change of Heart, featuring a woman from the United States as their guest speaker. Susan Tomofachuk has more.
Women of all ages and denominations are gathering together to celebrate who they are and what they represent. It's the 6th annual Women Alive Regional Fall Conference. The conference began several years ago in Ontario and is now held in Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, and Edmonton. Women Alive now has 25,000 members. 350 women are here at the Westman Centennial Auditorium to hear the story Shirley Ann Johnson has come all the way from Phoenix, Arizona to tell. Johnson was born with only one finger on each hand and one toe on each foot. But can she ever play the piano?
Playing the piano is very therapeutic for me. I always will go off into a room with it dark and just sit down and play. Those of you who are musicians, you know that feeling. It helps me.
Johnson works as a minister of music at her church in Phoenix and hopes her story gives encouragement to other women.
And through that journey of accepting that and saying, you know, maybe this isn't so bad, though I hated it for a long time, I realized that there had to come a point to choose to go on and say, wait a minute, if I want quality of life, I need to see this as something that I can deal with and maybe even a good thing in my life.
Other highlights of the day include singing, music, and a drama presentation.
I want to uplift them, make them feel that they're here for a purpose and with a purpose, and do everything that they can to make our world better.
Next year's conference will be on October 14th with Stephanie Fast as the guest speaker. In Brandon, Susan Tomofacek, Pulse News.
Well, it was all fun and games at Thunderbird Bowling Lane Saturday. The Brandon youth took in the Bowling Blast-Off 99 and got to Globe Bowl free for 1 hour. The event was designed to introduce school-age youth to the sport, while over 200 people spent the afternoon knocking down pins with Week Kings Mike Whirl and Peter Kudra. Willie and Biff, the bowling mascot. In Brandon, there are bowling leagues for youth, adults, and also for seniors.
It's not decreasing in popularity, but it's kind of one of those sports that has never had the proper attention. Now with it becoming a Commonwealth medal sport and a Pan American medal sport, and hopefully in 2004 an Olympic medal sport, we're just starting to work on increasing, same as what happened with curling.
Winnipeg's The Guess Who were honored at the Prairie Music Awards. Yesterday, the group received the first Prairie Music Hall of Fame award. Saskatoon's Widemouth Mason did well as well. They took 3 awards back to Saskatchewan, including Entertainer of the Year. Well, he is the first wrestler ever to be elected a governor, and today the Manitoba Teen Touch Group honored him with a Teen Touch Award. Jesse Ventura was picked out for his ability to popularize politics and therefore attract young people to participate in public life. The governor's representative received the Beanie Baby Maple, replete with a wrestling belt. And of course, we'd like to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, or a story idea, why not give us a call, 728-3312, or fax us at 728-2591, or if you're on the internet, send us an email. Our address, ckxnews@mb.simpatico.ca.
On the cloudy side tonight, on the cloudy side tomorrow. Complete weather is coming up shortly.
I'm Lindsey Brown. The Brandon Barbarians are heading to the provincial final next weekend. We'll have that story coming up for you later on Pulse Sports.
How come you're so waiting?
This segment of Pulse News is brought to you by the #1 choice in home furnishings, Dufresne Furniture and Appliances, giving the best service and savings guaranteed.